I just interviewed for the Knicks. I took notes. I may not be a head coach in the NBA, but the next female that's going to get an interview, they need to come see me because I know what comes with it. And I also will tell them that the NBA isn't ready.
Full disclosure, almost all of our guests to this point have been from one of our phones. But we have secretly been keeping a wish list of guests that we would hope to have on someday. And today is one of those days. We are lucky enough. The one and only Dawn Staley, the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. She has so many accolades that I could read off, and it would take way too long. One of the coolest ones that I think I just have to say is that she is the only person, an emphasis on person here, man or woman, to ever win the Naismith Award as a coach and a player. She is one of one, and we are so happy to have her on. So can't wait. It's hard, honestly, to pick a topic to start with. To start with you because there's so many. I had no idea when the history of your playing career, certainly modern history in the last few years of coaching and all your success. But I am interested, I think, just to start things off, in the book and the process of writing the book, like the genesis of what finally spurred you to do it. How was it? There's a lot of vulnerability in like bearing it all, right? Like the good, the bad, opening up the curtain, the self-reflection that goes into a lot of that. I'm just interested in your take now, having been on this side of it. Like what's it been like going through that process?
Actually, it's been smooth, like a lot smoother than I thought. I like to work probably a little bit more under pressure. So this has been a 3-year process. And the first 2 years, I was just convincing myself to do it. Like I made the commitment to do it. So I was going to do it. It's just when. And for me, I like timing. Like timing is key for me. Like I can get things done when I feel like they're organic and they're just natural to do. So it took me about 2 years to just kind of wrestle with myself with, do you start now? You start and then you stop, and it just didn't feel right. When we won our championship in 2024, it's like basically this is uncommon. Like you don't go an entire season undefeated and not feel good about where you are in your career. And it finally settled me to just, and we did it with the most unlikeliest team. So that wasn't the best team I've ever coached by far. They probably were top 10, but probably not top 5.
They may disagree with that, Coach. So no offense, they may disagree with you on that
They
one.
for sure would disagree with it. But I remember June of that year, July of that year, August of that year, because they were nowhere near. Like I'm serious. Like I contemplated, like that I have the best of that I had the best of my career already. Is this where the downfall comes? Like you really wrestle with it.
Wow.
For real, because the year before we lost to Iowa undefeated in the Final Four, and I felt like that was our best team. Like our very best team, just talent-wise, just mentality-wise, just they did it the right way with no complaints. Like that was the perfect team for me. And then we lose our starters, we lose 2 contributors, and then this team takes us back to that same place and they win it. And they did it in a fashion that was so unlike me. Like it was more, I mean, I'm a disciplined coach. I'm a traditional coach. They were so untraditional. They made me follow them. And it was a cool ride. So
talk about that. Like, what'd you learn? What'd you learn? And going from June to the national championship that next year, what was the biggest lesson you learned from that team specifically?
One, there are multiple ways to skin a cat. Like I learned that by them taking me through that. I've been a part of national championship teams, so I kind of know what the key thing is to getting it done. And unless you won a national championship, you really don't know.
Yeah.
You know you got talent, you know you got all this other stuff, but until you've able to just get over the mountaintop and understand it, you it's probably, and I'm gonna just say it's easier to go get another one because you know what you need to get it done. But that team just had fun. I mean, they just had fun through good times, through bad times. They just kept smiling. They just kept having a good time. They just kept talking. I mean, like useless talking, like meaningless. Like it didn't have a rhyme or reason, but they liked each other. Like they did it for each other. You know, I would say this: we were on our way to the Final Four, that team, and we're on the plane, and it's taking a while for us to take off. So I walked to the back of the plane, and one of our players just kind of tapped me on the shoulder, and she was like, "When did you start liking us?" Like, right? Like, it was,
Busted.
yeah.
Busted.
And I said I never not liked them, right? I just didn't like their habits because I knew what it took to
Yeah.
win. They just went about it the long way, like the very long, fun way. And I think I'm a smart enough coach to kind of, know the pulse of the team and know when to push and pull. But this team had me. I mean, us coaches throughout the season, we would say, I mean, we're winning all these games. We winning big games. We played a tough schedule, and we're like, y'all drinking the Kool-Aid yet?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
So some of them were like, yeah, I'm drinking it. So I was like, I'm sipping. I'm sipping. I'm sipping. I'm not no big gulps over here. Right. So it was just so different. Like, and I do think basketball is funny in a way that you put in so much work at times and you don't end up winning the championship, but in that moment, it was the repayment of, I mean, that team had to sacrifice that lost the year before, had to sacrifice for that kind of moment. So I think that was pretty cool.
Did it change your view on the idea of them loving to be with each other and like loving and being grateful for each other and the season? Has that changed your approach to whatever you thought they didn't have going into it, and like how important that aspect is?
Well, they didn't change my approach. They changed, like I know now that things don't have to be lined up like this, right? I know now that whatever a team's identity is, go with the flow. If they're working hard, if they're executing, if they're approaching it the right way, let them do it the way they want to do it. Don't fight. Don't fight small battles that that aren't that have nothing to do with winning. Like they talked a whole lot, like during practice. I'm talking like you could we could be explaining things, implementing things, and they just really couldn't help it. Yes, in the beginning we were like, can y'all be quiet? And I'm not. Y'all probably don't have a censor button, but I probably said something a little bit more harsher than that, right?
It's
But
all
now
good here,
it's just
coach.
like,
You can say anything you want on this
Yep.
one.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, they might be talking about what we just put in. They might be. So you psych yourself out believing that that's what they're doing. Whether they're doing that or not, it really isn't a big deal in the whole grand scheme of things.
Well, Coach, you'll appreciate this. I have three sons. They're 12, 12, and 11. Okay. And when they heard that you were coming on, they were impressed. They were excited. They were like, you have Coach Staley there. So you should know that, even young boys in California are pumped about getting to hear from you. So I thought that was kind of cool. They're really into hoops. But, there was a couple of things that you mentioned in the book that I was pretty struck by. In men's basketball, there haven't been a lot of great players that have turned out to be great coaches, right? We talk about that a lot. A lot of times the players that end up being coaches weren't standout players the way you were. They didn't have the resume you have. So one was, why do you think that works for you, right? And it hasn't worked for some of the people that would be your analogs in other sports. And then the second thing is you transformed a lot, both as a player. You talked about at Virginia changing. You talked as a coach, you've changed. what do you think has allowed you to be willing to change, given that you've had a lot of success doing it other ways?
I played the point guard position, so you see some point guards are able to just make that next jump to coaching, because most point guards are selfless. They're like they want the team to move in a certain way. They're the coach on the floor, so you're just committed to that role. And I mean, I didn't want to coach. Like I never wanted to, like I didn't want to be a coach. Coaching really found me. Somebody saw something in me that I truly did not see in myself. Like I didn't want to be responsible for 18 to 22-year-olds. And I got into coaching when I was 30. So I'm like, I mean, they're closer to my age. I was younger than their parents. So I'm like, now I'm older than their parents. Right.
Yeah.
So
That was a
it,
crazy anecdote. None of us knew, or I don't know if Shane knew, but I didn't know that you started coaching when you were still playing. That is
yeah,
crazy. Crazy.
yeah,
That is
that
not
was
normal. Yeah.
that was the non-negotiable. I wasn't not giving up playing to coach, and I figured out a way to do it. Great staff, the players were committed. The players used to come and watch me play. They used to take a, I don't know, 10-hour drive to Charlotte from Philly to watch me play. So it was a cool dynamic to actually doing both. Um, and then you're, I mean, I just want to win. Like it doesn't, I'm smart enough to go hire people who are smarter than me and have more experience than I do. I don't care where the answers come from, as long as they're in the room, like in the room where it's the people that we assembled to be successful. So I think that's part of I grew up the youngest of five, so I didn't really have a say in a whole lot growing up. So I was used to, discernment. I was used to just knowing how to pick people who I feel like connected with me the best. And not necessarily, we don't have to agree. There's certain things like you got to work hard, right? You got to sacrifice. You got to have an understanding of that. And once you do, you can do some things that are unimaginable. Like I didn't, I got into coaching to win a national championship because that was one of my lifelong dreams. Winning the national championship and and being an Olympian and a gold medalist. So those are two things that drove me. I didn't ever think I was going to win a national championship because we didn't win one in college at Virginia. So I was like, okay, that's gone. Let me just work on this Olympic thing and try to get some gold medals. And that was cool. So I'm always been one that I can pivot. I mean, I can pick. I'm not going to um, replace my core values with something that isn't right. But I'll pivot for all the right reasons if it's going to move the chain, um, in the team having success.
In the book, you call yourself a dream merchant, which is a great term. So, talk to us about how you balance brutal reality with selling the dream and a vision that the player can't see and their families can't see for themselves. And it seems like a fine line. And I think we've all lived that, and
Mhm.
we'd love to hear your perspective on that.
With that, I think it's all about consistency. You can't say it once because they'll hear it in the moment. Then when the tests are, you might not play a whole lot. You might play a whole lot. You might not play any, right? We say this all in the beginning of the season with the understanding of the type of talent that we attract. They're used to playing 32 minutes in high school. The family is used to seeing
Yeah.
them play 32 minutes. So when we say you may not play, the parents are on the Zoom, their daughters are on the Zoom, because we start with Zooms. We just kind of and that's the conversation that's closer to the season starting. The Zooms in August and September, they're just like, get to know us, kind of get an understanding of how it works. And also, when we're having those Zooms, the parents are really speaking for us. They're speaking their experience with us. And when you hear it from another parent, you digest it a little bit differently. But when you build a relationship with someone and things aren't going as they envision, that's when you got to have those talks that you've had. We said this may happen, and here
Yeah.
we are. So I got to give y'all a story, right? I mean, we got talented freshmen, like, generational talents that come through our program, but they still make the transition. So there's one game, generational talent wasn't playing well, just wasn't playing well. It's a nip and tuck game. So I played her the first half, but didn't play her the second half. We won on the road, right? At North Carolina. It's a big win for us. But I got a text message from the mom. She was like, yeah, this is stuff, right? The mom's like, my baby's crying, and you didn't play her, right? And I'm like, I actually did play her. I'm like, I actually did play her. She didn't play well, right? So we had to
Yeah.
win the game. So this is what the mom did to me. The thumbs down. So
If you're not watching on video, she got a thumbs down emoji. Okay, just if you're just listening.
For real, like y'all know that.
Oh
So
gosh.
this is me, y'all. I got my phone in my hand, and I'm like, 10,
Give me
9,
strength, Lord.
8, 7. I had to give myself a 10 count, right? I did. So I said, look, we gonna have to be respectful when we talk to each other. Like, just use your words. Like, I know you're upset. I know all of that. I know what, the dynamics of the family, and you've never seen your daughter go through something like this. I said, but you really got to trust the process. It's a process for her, right? And then we talked, exchanged a few more text messages. At the end of the conversation, she said, Coach, I trust you. And it's the buildup. It's the trust from all of those conversations that we had to get her to understand it. And when I'm talking to parents and players, there's an emotional part to them that's speaking, right? And then there's the facts, right? It's emotions and facts. You got to let them get their emotions out, but we still got to get down to the facts. Did you play well? Right?
Yeah.
Did you execute? What are your numbers? Like it comes down to production, but you got to give them that space to have their emotional breakdown, because it's so new to them that they don't really understand. And after that day, that talent was a lot different. Immediately, she was able to defend. Immediately, because we had one game, one day in between. Then we had to play again. We had to play Duke. We played North Carolina and Duke over a weekend, and she was much different in that game. So she played longer. There's no there's no substitute for production. None, zero. So it's just that constant push to force our players to play at their daily standard, and that's hard. They need constant reminders.
Coach, on that same note, we talk a lot about parenting, and you obviously, me just kind of touched on it. And certainly, there's a lot of new age parents, right, that are overly involved in their kids' lives. They want to be best friends with their kids. And I one of my favorite chapters in the book is when you talk about your freshman year at UVA and how hard it was, not just on the personal side and the basketball side. And it was so fascinating, right? Like that, and you're struggling in both areas, and your coach, Debbie Ryan, right, kind of letting you fail, and she's like investing in you. And school in Charlottesville is a big change, and it's hard. And right, like, could you have imagined your mom sending a thumbs down emoji, right? Like, as you're trying to find your way. And then again, I think all the growth that spurred, you like talk about all the growth and the transformation that you had there, right, in your first few years. again, as a person and a player, right? And like, do you think that parenting now, like so many snowplow parents, right? And they want to get out in front of their kids and they don't want them to struggle, right? Like, do you see that?
Oh, that's my life. That's my life. That is what I deal with all the time, and I get it. Like we see it so much. We see it so much year to year that we can identify what it is, so we can somewhat get ahead of it. And it's actually just constant communication. Like when you leave a young person and their parents like on ice, they get to choose what path they want to go with, whatever they want to go with. And I'm like, no, bring it right here. Like, I want you to tell me why you're upset. I want you to tell me where you think your child could get better, right? But don't talk about other people's kids. Don't compare yourself to other people's kids now.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Let's just talk about your child and where she is and what her, what her improvements are, or where she needs to go. I do find that when you sit down and you actually talk to them and you give them the space to get it out, you can agree to disagree agreeably. But if they never had that space, that's why I want inclusion. I want parents. I want the trainers. I want boyfriends, girlfriends, all like because our players are the principals. They're the principals. So we need the principals to succeed. Now, if I'm telling uh one of our players something, mom is saying something else, dad is saying something else, trainer saying something else, like we're not moving in the right direction. We don't have great synergy. So we get everybody in the room, and this is not all the players, it's just a few of them that have all these people in their ears, and they want to be the ones that are the reason for the principal's success. I get that too, but I don't think any of them have ever like won a national championship. Like they've never played at this level, so they don't know all the things that come with it. So by sitting down and talking, because I want to connect with the people that have the biggest voices in our players' ears, because they got a lot. They got a lot. And I do find that when we're able to sit down and talk and hash out whatever we need to hash out, and we all on one accord, it really helps. It really helps. And then I mean, access to me, trainer, text me, call me, mom, call me, dad, call whatever, whoever, call me, and let's talk about it. Because I'm the only one that can really do something about it. Like I'm going to be the decision maker when it comes to this. So you might as well bring it here. And sometimes when you get to a point where they're not hearing what you're saying, they'll leave you alone.
Alex, did your dad ever call Mike Singletary when he was cussing you
Hell
out?
no. Hell no.
But
Okay, just checking. I'm just checking.
But Coach, this is another place where I was like Alex. All the parts about you talking about your freshman year experience at Virginia, and then also the parts you talking about the parents being different. I was pretty struck by that because you could just imagine, and I think somebody saying, "Look, I won 3 gold medals. Okay, I'm not talking to some trainer about this thing. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you could really imagine a very reasonable perspective of like, like." I'll give you a ridiculous example. I'm on my kids' soccer team. That's like a good soccer program, okay? But like a kids' soccer team. The coaches are like, we are not talking to anybody but the player. The kids are 12 years old. They're like, do not speak to us. If the kid would like to speak to us, they can speak to us. That's fine. But we are not communicating with anyone else. This is a youth soccer program in California. And so I'm just trying the distinction for you of like, no, like because I want to win, I will deal with all this stuff. I will go have those conversations. That is an extraordinarily unique, thing that I was writing down notes about leadership when I was reading the book. Because it's sort of like, look, if winning is the thing, you would cut your nose to spite your face if you said, look, I'm not talking to anybody else,
Yeah, but you also have to realize that these parents have invested.
Yeah.
AAU, like they've given up their life savings. So now we're in the space of NIL, being, brand ambassadors, all of that. They want their money back. They want a return of their investment, right? And they look at coaches as the dollar signs, like you are going to be the one that determines whether or not my child's going to get paid or not. So and I'm like, I'm not the one, the production is. Like, I'm not the one, because production is nameless and it's faceless. Like, long are gone the days of parents like not saying anything. My mom would have never, like, what my mom always said, the adult is is right. Always. The adult is always right. Coach is always right. So she never got into that. And I'm like, I do feel coach is always right, but I gotta talk to the parents.
Was that something you learned, or like, obviously it was very different when you started coaching? Like the snowplow parent wasn't there. Like, when did you learn that lesson?
I mean, I've always been that way. Like, I think it was just that I was so much closer to my players' age, right?
Yeah.
And I just always talked to parents. I just always
Yeah.
talked to them. Like, it wasn't like I didn't see one coming and go left. Like, I did not. I
Yeah.
invited, because I want clear. I'm one that, when it's clear communication, I do think I work better. I work better when we're clear. Everybody's clear. Like, now there are times. There was a time when I cut off a parent. There's a time when I just said, nope, I'm just going to deal with your daughter. And then I would go to her daughter and we would take a walk. Like, again, I'm gonna give you stories. Like, there was one of my players who transferred in, and she was used to shooting probably 25 times a game, but she was looking for something different. So she transferred in. And I told her when we were recruiting her on a visit, like, you'll probably get maybe a third to half of your shots that you got at your other spot, right? So they got to a point where, she wasn't, she didn't feel like she was getting the ball. So she said, basically, I'm not getting the ball. And then she said, I don't want the ball to shoot it. I just want to feel it in the beginning of the game. I mean,
We
that's
all
an easy
do.
fix. That's an easy fix. So I would run the first 2 plays to her in the game. Do your thing, whatever. Like, it's an easy fix. But, mom was like, this is not the right place for my daughter. You don't develop guards. Like, they all say that. I don't develop guards. My best players have been post players, but it's not because I don't have good guards. It's just they're very good. Asia Wilson, Aaliyah Boston, like, they've
Pretty
been
good.
very, very good.
Yeah, they're good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty good.
So it's that. So I am inclusive. Like, I want to sleep well at night knowing that I don't have disgruntled parents who are, pouring that into their daughters, and then it seeps out, to the team. So let's sit down and talk. I don't I don't I don't have one-on-one meetings to give our players their roles. I give their roles as a team. Like, we're sitting here, this is your role, this is your role, this is your, so they can hear what their roles are. And I'll tell them their roles can change. The production part of it. Like, your role doesn't have to stay the same, but this is what I've seen for the 8 weeks that we've been practicing leading up to the season. And they can hold each other accountable for their roles. And then if they disagree, then we can come have the one-on-one. But I'm going to give everybody their role as a team.
Have you seen the meme of yourself on the bench where where you drop a big F-bomb and you go like this?
ESPN has a way of really putting me in the bad spot. I don't. That was me in that moment. That's how I felt.
Well, the reason I was laughing was because now, you're like a meme, like on my text chains. If something bad happens to somebody, they just send a picture of you doing that. And so that has gone, you've gone real viral with that one. And I'll tell you, it is one of the funniest things And so I send it, people send it to me. And so, you should know you are helping a bunch of people communicate with each other with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That people can get their release from me, from my
That's right.
memes.
Exactly.
Coach, you've been to so many mountaintops. Like, I mean, from youth basketball, high school, college, like professional playing, obviously even more as a coach. I'm so fascinated by a story in the book on one. And when you grew up, there was no professional women's league. So one of your main goals was to win a gold medal. And you didn't make the 92 team after being the two-time Naismith Player of the Year. And then you get on the 96 one and you win gold. And you talk about the story. I like visualizing the story of you receiving your gold medal and talking about, give me mine and Philly coming out. It was so amazing. But it's what happened after that I find fascinating, right? And that you talked about kind of the funk that you went in after, because you achieved this like childhood dream, this goal, this end point. And I'm so fascinated on like why you think that has happened. And then you've achieved so much since then, right? And so does your approach to achievement and success, and we talk a lot about inputs versus outputs, right? And like focusing on the inputs rather than these outputs, and from a mental health standpoint, right? And even like a sustainability. I'm just so interested on like that story, why you thought that happened, and why do you have a different approach to, again, successes?
That's the only time that's happened. Like you get your lifelong dream, right? At an early age, and you're like, well, what do you do now? Like, I mean, what why? And I only really wanted one. I I wasn't greedy, and I was like, I want two, I want three, I want four. I wanted one. I wanted one. And then really I go home, went back to Philly, I'm just like, I don't want to touch a ball. I don't want, like, I have no desire to go work out, like nothing. I do think I was a little depressed, and I do think that it came out of nowhere. Like I think I'm a pretty tough person, like in general. Like I'm from North Philly, like tough, and then something like this happens and you can't control it. And I did have to report to um my ABL. Like the ABL was the first women's professional league that started right before the WNBA. So I made a commitment to them, and I had to be in training camp. My head coach is our associate head coach. Like she's been with me for 23 out of my 25 years coaching. Like she's in the office right next to, and I talked to her and I was like, I don't know what it is. I'm not there. Like I can't come. So she gave me about 2 weeks, and then I started to just kind of look outward, because we're always looking in, and we're like, this is how I'm feeling. Like it's so personal and selfish, right? Like, and I don't have a selfish bone in my body. So I started looking at my teammates are in training camp. Like they're formulating a bond. They're forming chemistry, and I'm not there. And I know I was going to play a big role in our success. So I was like, let me get down there. And the moment I made that decision to go down there, immediately I was done. I was done with the depression and all of that. But I will say this, that I think I was mentally exhausted because we had trained for a year prior to the Olympic game. And it was hard. Like it was probably harder than it needed to be. I mean, hindsight's 2020. Um, but it was hard. It was a mental, physical drain. But my teammates on the Olympic team went to their teams, and it didn't have that kind of effect on them. So I don't know why it had that type of effect on me. But I know all the signs now. Like I'm a college coach. I know all the signs. When your behaviors change, like the things that you normally do, the way that you approach people, when all those things change, I ask those questions. Hey, what's going on? You good? Like,
Yeah.
like, so I'm in tune with identifying what that looks like. One, because I felt it, right? I experienced it, and two, I mean, being a college coach for 25 years, I would say, we have an ability to identify behaviors. Although we're not psychologists, we are creatures of habit, and we are creatures of seeing habits and good habits and bad habits and habits that we need to address.
Coach, I had another question for you from the book. One of my favorite parts was when you talked about the stories we tell ourselves can be just as harmful as the stories, some things anybody says about us. And we had another guest, Wright Thompson, who's a writer, and he has this line, which is the stories we tell ourselves are the armor that we put up against the world, right? Like it's like that's who we are. And so as I think about that, can you just talk about that a little bit more, like that insight of like the stories we tell ourselves can be more harmful than what the worst things people say about us? Can you just talk a little bit more about what you meant by that?
I mean, self-talk is real. Like it's real. Like it becomes your reality if you don't use it the right way. You go into like a national championship game or any big game. You can have the best preparation. Like there's no more you can do. You got your assignment. You just have to go out there and execute. But there's a little bit of self-doubt. Like and it's a anxiousness that can work against you. That the anxiousness will cause you to start second guessing your preparation, and it happens to the best of us. But then when the game starts, you snap out of it, and you start telling yourself other stuff. You start seeing your preparation go to work, and then it allows you to build off of that. But the negative, like I talk about this, like I talk about pro habits, like creating really good habits. Because when you create habits, whether they're good or bad, you could be really good at them.
Yeah.
You could be really good at a habit that's not good for you.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You could be really good at something that's really good for you, and it's going to take you to the next level. So it starts with that self-talk.
Mhm.
That self-talk. Like one of the most like gratifying moments for me as a coach is when I heard one of my players, like Chloe Kitts. I mean, she had a big postseason game. Like we're in the postseason NCAA tournament, and she had a rolling. She would not let her lose. She had big play after big play after big play, and she got up on that podium and she talked about what she was telling herself. Like she's at the free throw line. She was like, "Girl, you better make this." Right? This is her, like her saying this to herself. I mean, she put a little doubt, like if you don't make this, we gonna lose. But it pushed her to a place where she focused enough to knock down those free throws. But she took us down, she took us down, she took us through her process of how she overcame the little bit of doubt that just eked into her psyche. But before that, she probably would have missed the free throws because she would have talked herself out of making them for some reason. So I think it's pretty cool that when again, that's a dream merchant moment. Dream merchant, doesn't necessarily mean you always get like, the player gets to get to the go to the WNBA. A dream merchant moment is when they find themselves, when they really find who they are,
Yeah.
because when they do, they're going to be successful. So it's just not the tangible thing, the intangible things when you're able to equip yourselves with them.
Mhm.
The tangible is a foregone conclusion that is going to happen.
I'll never forget the feeling that I had when I was getting ready to play Kobe. Okay, so like Kobe was the one guy that made me lace him up just a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
Who was that? But who was that person for you that you knew you were going up against? You might have had an extra Gatorade. You might have laced him up a little tighter for that night.
um it was probably like a Teresa Edwards. No, not no, no,
talk,
not
talk
Teresa
about
Edwards.
that.
Not Teresa Edwards. Teresa Weatherspoon, because she
Yeah,
played point guard,
yeah,
um, like me.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, Teresa Teaspoon is what we call her. Um, she was a great defender. Like she hawked the ball and she'll tell you about it. Like she gonna talk, she's gonna talk her stuff, right? So I just really got up to play her. Like there was a time, where we started the season one like 1-10. Like 1-10. Great. We had a talented team. We were losing games, by a possession or two, right? And then we ended up making the playoffs. We ended up the season like 17-4, our last 21 games. And we had to see them in the first round of the playoffs. And I believe we were down one. Like we were down one to them. Came back and won 2 games, but it was our matchup that I felt like we had to win, because if she was able to apply pressure and disrupt us, you cut the head off, the body's gonna go type thing. So I had to really handle her in all the antics that came with her. Um, but I always, like, it didn't matter whether it was playoffs or not. I thought Spoon brought the best out of me. I didn't have to play the Kobe types. I didn't have to play.
Hey, by the way, Coach, do you have a coaching version?
That's a good question. I mean, to beat Gino,
Yeah.
is a pretty big deal. To beat Kim Mulkey, pretty big deal. Like it is. I mean, these are even Tar Vanderveer, who coached me in the
Yeah.
1996 Olympic team. Because I know how they study the game. I know what they pour into their players. So I know if you beat them, you really are out strategizing them. And it's not like, some of it is you're very talented, and but when both teams are talented,
Totally.
right? What is the thing that's going to neutralize all of that? It is, knowing when to call a play, to create an advantage, knowing when to switch up your defense to create advantage. So it's those type of things that those coaches are notoriously prepared to strategize in a way to outfox you.
You gave a part of the net from the first national championship to all the Division One Black women head coaches. I think
Yep.
when you interview with the Trailblazers, you took the notes, but you took them deeply so that the next woman that was interviewing would know exactly what they were asking. Where does that like pay it forward come from?
I mean, I'm just a giver. Like I want people to succeed. Like I really do. I want everybody to put their best foot forward and succeed. Cause I'm pretty happy with my life. I'm pretty happy with the decisions that I made. Like my life is fulfilled, and I get more fulfillment out of seeing people do some things that they didn't think they could do. Right. So again, like I just interviewed for the Knicks. I took notes. Like I may not be a head coach in the NBA, but the next person that's going to get it, the next female that's going to get an interview, they need to come see me, because I know what comes with it, and I also will tell them that the NBA isn't ready, because you have to get ready for a female head coach. You can't just make the decision, oh, that's my coach, and not have it impact the whole organization. I'm talking about front office, I'm talking about players, I'm talking about media, all those things, because it will turn their jobs, I wouldn't say upside down, but different. Like you got to answer different questions, and you're not quite prepared for it, because you never had to turn on that side of your brain. Like you
Yeah.
never,
Yeah.
y'all guys don't think that way.
No, for sure. We don't think much, On that note, by the way, basketball is by far the closest though. Like, I mean, football is like Stone Age, right? There are not many, women
Yeah.
coaches in football, baseball, right? All the other major sports. I think basketball, in that regard is ahead of the game. But what do you see as like the biggest challenges? I mean, you talk about growing up, and you played with the boys growing up, right? In Philly, and the pickup games, and like what that did for you. What do you see as the biggest challenges as a coach, stepping into that role? If like for you or whoever else it may be.
The biggest challenge is just getting over the fact that you're not of that gender. Like once you get down to it's just basketball, that that you're moving the needle in somebody's career. Once somebody sees that, it changes immediately. Once you see you're helping someone, once someone sees you're helping them, gain an advantage in their sport, it's genderless at that point. But it takes some time. Like it takes some it takes some time. Like there's no doubt. There's no doubt that that I couldn't get the job done. Like I can coach, any level, right? I can coach any level because I'm about people.
Yeah.
I'm about people. Like damn the sport. If you get to the person, you're gonna move them. Like basketball is the commonality. Basketball is easy. We're not doing any like it's all recycled shit. Like it ain't like new shit. Like you ain't bringing something completely new to the table.
Yeah.
It's all recycled stuff.
Yeah.
You just got to know when to hit it. Like it's not. And if you don't have them as a human being and a person, you ain't gonna be able to coach them no matter what gender you are.
Coach, what's crazy is that like we talk about this a lot on our podcast, but like sports, business, life, parenting, everything you just said applies so much beyond gender in basketball. Right now in Silicon Valley, where me and Alex live, all these companies are AI companies, right? And there's all this talk. How do you run an AI company? How do you run an AI company? You know what the answer is? The same way you run a non-AI company, because you have to get the right people involved, right? And you have to make sure that they're rowing in the same direction. You have to make sure that they're motivated. You have to make sure it's all the same stuff. And it's the same thing you just said of like, look, there is not something, if you are focused on people and you're actually a good people leader, you know what? You could lead people in anything. You don't have to coach basketball. You could lead anything. You talk about Fortune 500 CEOs in your book. You could be one of those. It's just a matter of, gathering people around a common goal, being willing to have a tough conversation, holding the standards high. There's a bunch of stuff that just works everywhere.
That's it. Like I don't like. I mean, that's it. There's no secret to success. Obviously, when it's when it's your subject matter, like and everybody's good in your subject matter. What's the differentiator? It's how you get the people to perform and execute the subject matter.
I have to, listening to your conversation, Coach, communication has been in every answer you've given. So I have to push back on the team that you didn't think was your best team might have been the best communicating team. And there's something about that team I'm also passionate about. I've never won big on a team that's quiet. I'm sure you haven't either. And so, if that squad is listening out there, I'm giving you props. You're the greatest team ever under Coach Staley.
I equated that team. To a daycare, because that's what it seemed like. Like it was like the kids are being kids, but it was cool. It actually it picked up some steam. Like they called it Dawn's daycare, but that particular team, and it's cool. Now they're some of them are in the pros. They like, I graduated from daycare, right?
So champions, it's forever.
Yes.
Champions.
Coach, have you had to adjust your coaching style? Like, I mean, you talk about the discipline, right? That you learned a lot of it from your mom. You talk about in the book, and it obviously shown up as a coach, and your coaching mentors that you had. Have you had to adjust? You've been a coach before NIL, now you are the NIL, and there's transfer portal. And can you be a tough love coach, right? Like obviously you talked about the importance of communication, but has that had to change at all with the emergence of obviously the ability of these kids to obviously change schools on a moment's notice if they are unhappy? Can you still have that same approach and have success in this in today's game?
Yeah, I think that's a core value for me. Like that's just who I am. I'm a very disciplined coach. There are ways that you have to communicate that discipline. It is not just because I said so. Like those days are long gone, right? It is okay. If I had to make a change in a starting lineup, because I had to do that when we won our first national championship. So I took out a junior, inserted a freshman point guard because I just felt like she is going to take us to the next level, right? So what do you do with the junior, right? So you have to come up with innovative ways to get her to understand that it's really not a demotion because one, I said when you go to the next level, you ain't start. You're going to play your natural position coming off the bench. That's one. That's one thing I said. But I also did this. The junior was also a point guard, but she was a shoot first, aggressive point guard, wanting to get off. And we had a team which they needed the ball. The other people needed the ball. So I was like, you come off, and I did it during Christmas break, right? I said right before Christmas break, hey, I might make a change, right? So I might make a change to the starting lineup. I didn't say who or what. I let them go home with it, right? When they came back, and I was like, this is what I'm feeling. Like you got to tell them exactly. This is what I'm feeling. This is for the greater good of our team, you know. And then I'm like, and then I did show. I showed the junior like here are the point guards that you would be playing if you were a point guard in an NBA WNBA right now. These are the starters for the 8 teams. You're coming off the bench, like for each of one of those franchises. And then I said, but for us, when you come off the bench for us, go play your natural way. Go get buckets. Go do what you need to do. We just didn't need it at the beginning of the game because we had to get everybody else involved. And then the two of them had a really good relationship. So I think we had that working in our favor too, that you know, you could be disgruntled at somebody that you don't like, that's your competitor in that position, but they really liked each other. And then the fact that we won, you know, no one really that story never really came up because we were all winners. So it's the way you go about doing it. You can't just say, I'm making a change. Executive decision is, I'm making a change. You're out, you're in. You can't do it that way anymore. You got to explain it, and you got to keep explaining it. And you got to explain it to the parents. And, you know, Asia Wilson started her first game here at South Carolina, stunk it up. Oh, she was bad, right? So I was like, and I saw her struggle. I did. Because we had a core group that played well together. And then I was like, Asia, I gotta take you out of the lineup. I gotta bring you off the bench. So I had to call her mother, right? And her mother I did. Like this is the biggest the best recruit that we've ever had. You can't just do that and not inform the parents. So the mom, I said, I gotta take her out. Like I gotta let her see the game a little bit. She's feeling the pressure of being a local star. And then the mom was like, you sure? Mom was like, you sure? I said, I'm sure. You're gonna have to trust me on this. Right. And then at the end of the year, Asia was the national freshman of the year, right? Rookie of the year in our league, all SEC. Like she got all of her awards that she would have gotten if she was started. So it ended up working out. And then, when she got up to come into the game, the crowd went crazy, like crazy. So it is just explaining things a little bit more in depth to the players and their significant people in their lives.
Coach, the show is, called Glue Guys, right? And so we try to celebrate, it can be glue gals, glue people, okay? But we try to celebrate the people that are under celebrated, but make teams go. And doesn't even have to be in basketball, but we always ask everyone, who are the glue people in your life?
I got a couple of one is Coach Boyer, Lisa Boyer, who she really has sacrificed her career to help me as a coach because I never had any assistant coaching. Like I didn't go through the ranks. I went right to being a head coach, and that's hard when you don't know. Like I didn't know about a budget. Like I didn't know the administrative stuff. Like I knew how to coach, right? I knew basketball, but she was always one that would, even when she wasn't with me the first 2 years of my career, she would just, give me a checklist of things that I needed to know.
Oh,
And then when I begged her, like I used to call her, I'm like, you coming? Like I need you. And then because she was coaching in the WNBA at the time, and I needed her, and she came, and she is my glue person. Like she is loyal, she's smart, she's experienced, she knows me, she works harder than me. Like I mean, we're probably like an old couple.
that's awesome.
Well, Coach, this has been unbelievable. This is such a treat, and can't thank you enough again for your time. This is
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
We are huge fans. We respect you a ton, and we respected you before reading your book, and then even more after, and then even more after today. Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
You're an amazing role model. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Don't change. Don't ever change.
The book. Thank you for reading the book. I appreciate that, because some people don't read the book. Right.
On that note, Coach, I do have to admit I listened to it. And I want to give you a shout out because you read the whole thing, and it is so cool to hear you tell your story. So for all the non-readers out there, to get the Audible.
Well, Coach, I also have another request, which is I need some more copies, because I got 3 sons who want to read it simultaneously. So I need a few more copies so that they can
you. We got you. We got you. Okay. And I want you to know you only got 8 hours of the audio book. It took me 30 to read it.